Good morning, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Tuesday, the 2nd of June. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm going to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right, just something to mention. I wrote a post on oil on the bigger picture, posted that a couple of hours ago, and I'm going to be posting another one today on the short-term setup for the rest of the week, because that is looking as though it might be rather interesting. Because obviously this week, the first 2 days this week, we're going to be significantly bullish, and that was yesterday and today, of course. Tomorrow, we've got a significantly bearish day, then we've got a bullish day on Thursday, and we've got another bearish day on Friday. So we've got, after today, we've got 2 of the 3 remaining days of the week are bearish. And we've actually got quite a directional few days. We've got 3 bullish and 2 bearish the following week as well. But basically, we've got 3 days here, and we've got a potential window there where we might see some damage done. And actually, the setup for that doesn't look bad. So I'm going to go through that. Not so much on the futures. I'll be going through it mainly on RTH, but on ES here, we've got a little rising wedge here, which I'm wondering about breaking down. That's not the main rising wedge from the March low, but I am wondering about that. Not a bad looking little rising wedge. Didn't really have a resistance trend line that was worthwhile on the NQ version. On RTY, obviously the sell signal had made target. This looks an awful lot like a bull flag, and I'm thinking that might play out today, and it's not the only one. On YM, possible double top setup. The 60-minute sell signal has reached the possible near miss target. On DAX, looks like a flag, and since I drew this in last night, it's actually starting to break up slightly. Looking at ESDX, we got another flag, and we will see. I'm thinking these may well make targets today. In terms of the Nikkei, we had a 60-minute sell signal that's also reached the possible near miss target, and I've got a little wedge for the last few days, which is starting to break down. Not reading too much into that, but I am wondering if that might actually leave us with the topping pattern by the time we get to it tomorrow. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, looking at the daily chart, obviously we've still got the daily possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing. We've got the RSI 5 sell signal fixed and reconfirmed, and obviously we are breaking over multiple big trend lines on different time frames. So, and I'm treating these as bearish overthrows. All I have to say, the strength of the AI move has been a little disconcerting. And looking at, hang on a second. Yeah, I posted this chart yesterday as my chart of the day, and it's an interesting chart. This is basically from the last few months, basically from the start of the Iran war, and this is SPX excluding artificial intelligence, where you can see we're now approaching a retest of the February all-time high, and this is SPX without artificial intelligence, which is 10%, which has gone 10% higher. This is obviously an interesting chart, and this is telling us that all of the new gains, basically, we're still struggling to get back to where we were before the invasion of Iran here, but obviously we've seen wild things happen on the index, including AI. So the question is, I'm expecting to see an oil squeeze. I'm expecting oil to go a lot higher. I'm thinking that will have an impact on equities, but is it going to have an impact on the AI move? This is a real bubble, possible, closing spike high we're seeing at the moment. And I'm wondering if that might finish, or whether we're going to have a confusing situation, whether that's continuing while the rest of the market's tanking. Anyway, I'll be talking more about that in a bigger picture post in a couple of days, but that is an interesting chart which I've been thinking about. In terms of the hourly chart here, we've now got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing on SPX and a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing as well. We're pretty close to this trend line, and at the moment there's no sign of us going above it, but I am thinking there's a decent chance of seeing a retracement here. In terms of the 15-minute chart, decent looking wedge here, and we could well be forming a larger wedge, but I'm not really seeing an obvious resistance trend line for that yet. No divergence on the on this chart. Looking at the Qs, we're over the main resistance trend lines as well. Again, treating these provisionally as bearish overthrows. I've got a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing on the daily, and we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed and reconfirmed as well. On the hourly chart here, we've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing, and I am wondering about a retracement. Now here, we would need to break channel support to do that, and this is it's a very nice channel, but it's a very, very tight channel. Things like this go up so steeply that even on an AI spike, they can't really last that long. I'm wondering if we might see a retracement from here because we've got a couple of historically friendly days to see that. In terms of the 15-minute charts, no divergence again, no obvious resistance trend line here either. But there's no reason we can't retrace and then go higher. To give that to us. In terms of Dire finally went back and retested the high after a long time, but in doing so, it's more or less messed up entirely the shorter term pattern. We've got a weak RSI 5 sell signal that's fixed. It's not going to get any stronger because obviously it went below the 50 level on the RSI 5, but I am wondering if this might potentially fail. But it's a little early to say that. We've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing as well on Dire, so that's 3 out of 4. That's not bad. Do we have a nice pattern from the late March low? Yeah, that's not bad. That's really not bad. So wondering about that. Now, obviously, the ones which the indices which involve least tech, but I think there is some tech obviously in Dire. But we've got Dire and IWM with the least influence by tech, which is one reason why, of course, SPX and Qs have been leading very much to the upside. All right, let's have a look at IWM. IWM, looking at the daily chart, we have possibly a very slight break of the resistance trend line here, but I'm not sure that it's not really enough to call it a significant break. We don't have any negative divergence on the RSI 5, but we could get that with a retest of the high. We've already got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed. I'm thinking we might see a retest of this high today, and we might get some very nice negative divergence going into tomorrow. In terms of the hourly chart, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed already. And in terms of the pattern from the March low, a pretty decent looking rising wedge here too. Watching that with interest, but I'd quite like to see this high. Hey Doug, how's it going? I'd quite like to see a retest of this high, and then we will see where it goes from there. But I am thinking we've got a window here, Wednesday through Friday, where we could see some retracement, and we've got some promising signals for it. We may well get that. We shall see. DAX. Still wondering about a retest of the high, still thinking we might be seeing that shortly. Nikkei has gone higher. We're actually breaking slightly through this trend line here, so it looks like we might be joining the overthrow group with Nikkei here, so we shall see. No current negative divergence on RSI 5 or RSI 14. We shall see. But if we go a bit higher and we see a pullback and a retest, we can set that up on there too. All right, great. Let's have a look at DX. DX, we broke down from a double top. I was a little skeptical about its chances, and at the moment, it looks like it's rejecting back to the high. But that will be most the case if we see oil rising quite a lot today. I did a post this morning, obviously, looking at the setup for this to get oil to get back to 103, which actually it was at, I think it's like 15 days ago or 20 days ago. It wasn't that long ago. So we're just basically drawing it way back to then, because most of that pullback was really about the expectation of the straightforward moves being opened shortly. I'm not sure that was more sentiment than mathematics, to be honest. But nonetheless, we saw a big decline there, and with peace basically having been entirely abandoned on all sides, I think so far it looks like, then there's no particular reason for that not to be entirely reversed. All right, ZB going a little higher here, still looks like a bear flag forming in all probability, and the same on ZN, except ZN hasn't gone higher yet, but it may well. Looking at coil, we've got a nice. I was looking at the inverse shoulder setup on WTech. We've now got a nice looking possible IHS setup with a right shoulder forming on Brent crude, and we've got another one on WTIC. We've got a less nice one on heating oil, but still, decent. And RBOB, we didn't have anything of the sort, and it kind of looks like we're forming a bearish triangle, or possibly a bear flag here, maybe a double bottom, but it's not showing any signs of breaking up. We'll see how that goes. All right, looking at NG, we've got we had a double top, broke down with a target in the 313 area, and I'll just mark that in quickly. That is now made target. So that is now delivered. I'm wondering, obviously, about a test of this support trend line here in the 3 area. Do we have a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing here? I'm leaning with no. I think this has gone over the 50 line. Looking at GC, GC, we're seeing a little bit of a rally here. I'm wondering about a possible inverse head and shoulders forming here too. On SI, wondering about a possible double bottom here. Palladium, wondering about a possible double bottom here too. Less nice than the other two patterns. And here on platinum, a little too confused to say what's happening, but we have got a 6-minute buy signal fixed. HG, I saw a post saying HG had just reached a new all-time high here. Not actually quite seeing that, because obviously this was the all-time high on HG, and we haven't reached that yet. So we will see. I'm still wondering about a possible retest of that high. I was slightly confused to see an email from bar chart suggesting that had already happened. Looking at the other commodities, KC, possible double bottom here still, might be breaking lower. SB, probably a bear flag. I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this low here in the, just below the 113. The 1340 area. Looking at CC, wondering about a return to hit this head and shoulder target in the 3,500 area. I've got that 35.19, that is. Lumber still heading sideways, still thinking that as and when we start seeing trouble on oil and equity markets, certainly the oil markets, then this is probably going to resolve downwards. On CT, this looks like a little bear flag forming. Might be setting up the low, and I'm wondering about a possible second low of a double bottom when we get there. Wheat, don't really want to see it go any lower if this is going to continue having a main read as a bull flag. This has already gone too far in my view. So I am still leaning towards the long side here based on urea, straightforward moves and so on, but this has been going down disappointingly a long way. Although, to be honest, this looks like a pinprick on the daily chart. ZS, again, been seeing a decline here, thinking that may well deliver a move up in due course. I would say we're pretty close on this double bottom here to that failing. I think really, having reached the first target, I think that probably has failed. But I'll think about that. I've got a possible weak 6-minute buy signal brewing on soy. ZL already made higher highs. Live cattle may be forming the right shoulder on head and shoulders. And HE, we've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed and a potential double bottom, which doesn't look nearly as nice as it did yesterday. Do you want me to recap anything, Doug? All right, no worries, mate. In that case, everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and cheers.